guys, this is Michelle with Deception Bytes, and I am bringing you the latest breaking news concerning Q. I kind of go out and look at the news every day, and I'm bringing you things that are especially relevant to those of you who are following the Q phenomena. And generally, I have been running about a month behind with Q posts, and I've been looking at those in depth, but I am finishing my master's degree and working on my thesis, and I have been too involved over the last few days to be able to do that, to be able to take the time to be able to look at things that in depth. So I will hopefully get back to that tomorrow, but for today I've uploaded some information on Hawaii, and I'm going to do this one on the Q related news that is in the news over the last day or so. Okay, well, this is me. For those of you that are new to the channel, I just want to show you who is talking to you. I like to know who's talking to me. I'm really not a webcam person, so I may in the future, I don't know, but I just not really a webcam person. Okay, so let's get started with this one. And this actually really caught my eye because I think it's horrible, and I don't know about you, but I have been kind of waiting for some sort of pandemic to strike. For many, many years, actually, I've been expecting it to happen. And when the Ebola outbreak happened, I wondered if that was going to go worldwide, and thankfully it didn't. They were able to stop that. As far as I know, it has. I don't know. I don't think it's been eradicated, but it's certainly not growing as far as I'm concerned, as far as I know. Now, this is some sort of eye bleeding fever outbreak and doesn't sound too pleasant. I don't know about you, but I don't want my eyes to bleed. They sometimes do when I look at Hillary, but no, that's not even fair. Okay. Eye bleeding fever outbreak confirmed. Fears of pandemic as disease hits second country. Now, health bosses have confirmed they are facing an outbreak of the eye bleeding fever after 4 people died of the suspected disease in weeks. I am going to
when a strange disease was reported in the category.
Hang on one second, okay? Because I'm going to shut this up. Okay, hang on one second because I'm going to shut something off here so that you're not hearing any of the sounds that are coming from that. There we go. Okay, so health bosses have confirmed they are facing an outbreak of the eye bleeding fever after 4 people died of the suspected disease in weeks. Uganda's health minister has today finally admitted it is facing the risk of a large-scale explosion of the viral hemorrhagic fever. Now, the fact that it is viral, that concerns me, because anything that's viral can spread very, very, very quickly. I would assume that means that it's airborne. I don't know. Any of you doctors and nurses or whatever could probably tell me that. But I would assume if it's viral that it's transmitted through the air. But again, I don't know. VHF causes victims to suffer a burning fever before beginning to bleed from orifices, including their eyes, anuses, and mouths. It comes after a girl, 9, was reportedly killed by the infection in Uganda, and 3 people died in neighboring South Sudan of similar symptoms. Uganda Health Minister Sarah Opendai confirmed emergency response teams are now being deployed to the districts of Nakasiki and Lowero. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce these names of these places. She also identified the mystery disease, saying tests have revealed the infection is Crimean Congo hemorrhagic fever. Wow. Now, the reason I say that I'm expecting this is because we all know about the Georgia Guidestones, and we know that their plan is to keep world population below 1 billion. And I think it's 500 million that they want to keep the world population to. And that is not very many, considering the size of the world. So how are they going to get it to that level? There has to be some plan to reduce worldwide population. And I have long suspected it would come through either war or disease. And so I don't know. I'm not saying that this is part of that at all. I'm just saying that nothing surprises me. Today, Health Minister Opendai said results from Uganda Virus Research Institute tested positive for the Crimean Congo hemorrhagic fever and negative for other viral hemorrhagic fevers like Ebola, Marburg, Rift Valley fever, and Sosua. The confirmation comes after just 2 weeks ago, the Ugandan health minister denied there was an outbreak. Positive tests for this CCHF came from samples taken from a 9-year-old patient. I can't even imagine something so horrible. I really can't. I had, it was a long time ago now, but I had Rocky Mountain spotted fever, and I just wanted to die. I was so sick. I just wanted to die. My fever was very high, and it was horrible. And I can't imagine having a fever and bleeding from your orifices. It's too horrible to even imagine. Experts from the World Health Organization have already said they were monitoring for an outbreak after reports in South Sudan. CCHF is spread to humans via tick bites or contact with raw meat. So that answers our questions. It's spread to humans through tick bites or contact with raw meat and infected animal blood immediately after slaughter. But actually, in a country like that where people probably are slaughtering their own meat and chickens and things, at least some of the country people, I know it's not all rural, but it is very common to come in contact with a tick bite. That's how I got Rocky Mountain spotted fever, from a tick bite, because I was walking in the woods. And it's easy to contract something, and so it's alarming, really, because our world has gotten so small now. You're on an airplane, and you're to the other side of the world in hours, really. I mean, many hours, but still. So I don't know. CCHF outbreaks constitutes a threat to the public health services because of its epidemic potential. It casts high fatality ratio, 10 to 40%. Its potential for I don't think I've ever seen that word before. No social outbreaks, and that's funny because I'm doing a master's in English, so I've never seen that word. It's probably a medical word, I would assume. Outbreaks and the difficulties in treatment and prevention, whose description of the virus reads, millions dead, the last major flu pandemic. That's not part of this. Who first raised fears of a VHF outbreak in Central Africa with a report of a number of deaths in South Sudan. A pregnant woman and 2 teenagers all succumbed to a mystery infection along with a number of animals. However, it is not confirmed whether these deaths are also from CCHF or a separate similar strain of VHF. They both sound, horrible. Outbreak in the nation could be catastrophic, with South Sudan bordered by Sudan, Ethiopia, Kenya, Uganda, and the Congo, and the Central African Republic. So, this is tragic. There were fears up to 60 people could be infected, and each undergoing analysis by a team from the Sudanese Health Ministry and WHO. In recent reports, WHO wrote, the outbreak of suspected viral hemorrhagic fever in South Sudan could rapidly evolve, and critical information, including laboratory confirmation of the etiology of disease, is needed to direct response efforts. Strengthened surveillance in affected human and animal populations is needed to facilitate rapid detection of human and animal cases and response. Strengthened capacity to clinically manage any new cases is also needed in the affected area. So, and along this lines, although not anything so horrendous, is the flu that's happening in the United States and in Canada, and I'm not sure where else, but I know I was reading one place that I think it was Arizona, that it was like 800 and some times worse than last year at this time. Like, that's huge, an 800 and some % increase. And a lot of people, well, yeah, there's people dying from this flu. And I realize people say, well, people always die from the flu. And I realize that because some people are immune compromised, or, elderly people or whatever. But some of these are healthy young people that should not be dying from the flu. And apparently the strain of the vaccine, and I'm not a vaccine fan, but did not cover this strain of flu. So, and I worry because I have parents that are elderly, and I have friends that are elderly, family friends that are elderly. So anyway, don't know what's going on with that. So anyway, let's get back to Q-related news. Now, let's take a look at this. Sarah Carter, Fusion GPS still taking money from secret donors for Trump-Russia witch hunt. Interesting. They just won't let it go. Fusion GPS, the opposition research firm behind the discredited Steele dossier, is still investigating alleged ties between President Trump and Russia, reports Fox News contributor Sarah A. Carter. Sarah Carter reports, what's not known is who's paying for the continued research. Fusion GPS officials could not be reached immediately for comment. Well, of course they couldn't. Representative Ron DeSantis, a Florida Republican and chairman of the National Security Subcommittee, sent a letter last week to House Speaker Paul Ryan asking him to direct Chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Devin Nunes, to declassify documents given to the committee related to the dossier. DeSantis told this reporter that releasing the information on the dossier and the classified FISA applications is the first step in getting the truth to the public. Congress needs to determine the role played by Fusion GPS in the Russia matter, and that includes any current Fusion activity, said DeSantis. Congressional investigators probing the origins of the Steele dossier have set their sights on a brand new target, the Obama State Department. Were Obama State Department officials responsible for spreading discredited tidbits compiled in the dossier through the media? Intelligence Chairman Devin Nunes may soon find out. Byron York of the Washington Examiner reports that Obama's State Department is now being probed as to whether or not they had a hand in the dossier. York notes Steele was viewed inside the Obama State Department as a valuable source for intelligence on all things Russia. Obama state officials made a habit of disseminating reports the former British spy authored for private clients around the department. Last week, Fusion GPS founder Glenn Simpson's explosive testimony was released by ranking Senator Dianne Feinstein. The lawmaker claims she was pressured to release the transcript. Feinstein said a bad cold led to her decision to unilaterally release the transcript. However, a bad cold, give me a break. However, it was Fusion GPS lawyer that demanded the documents be released, reports the Daily Caller. So, yeah. I just noticed this. 20 photos that make you feel embarrassed to exist with humanity. Okay. Anyway, I'm too easily sidetracked. All right. So, still taking money from secret donors. Just won't let it go. So, and I'm sure you've seen this in the news. Donald Trump's excellent health. And I liked this doctor because somebody asked him, how it was that Trump could, eat McDonald's and drink Diet Coke and whatever and still be healthy. And the doctor replied, well, it's his genes. God made him that way. White House Dr. Ronnie Jackson praised Donald Trump and spoke in detail about the president's physical and mental health on Tuesday, calling it excellent. Reporters in the White House press briefing appeared baffled that despite reports of Trump's intake of fast food, Dr. Jackson said his overall health was great for a 71-year-old man. It is called genetics, Jackson said. I don't know. Some people have great genes. He has incredible genes, and that's just the way God made him. Jackson has served as a presidential physician for the 2 previous presidents, Barack Obama and George W. Bush. So, he said that despite his good health, he spoke with the president about losing 10 to 15 pounds through diet and exercise. The president agreed. He is more enthusiastic about the diet part than the exercise part, but we're going to do both, Jackson said. He added that Trump was much healthier since he was eating food cooked by the White House chefs. He is fit for duty, Jackson said. I think he will remain fit for duty for the remainder of this term and even the remainder of another term if he is elected. So, this is interesting because, of course, there's a lot of people saying he's not fit for office, but I think he scored perfectly on the cognitive test, but there are some people that are upset because they're saying, well, he's obviously overweight, and how can his whatever statistics or whatever be whatever they're called? What are they called? Anyway, it escapes me right now, but how could it all be good? So now it's, how Trump started the birther movement. Well, now they're calling it the girther movement to kind of make fun and poke fun at Trump, saying that no, they don't believe he's healthy and that it's a conspiracy. So I don't know. Anyway, let's move on. I think that the president is obviously healthy. I don't think that this doctor has any reason to lie. So anyway, he appears healthy to me. For 71 years old, I think he does very, very well. And not that 71 is old by any stretch of the imagination. At least not here, not in Canada. The life expectancy here is a lot longer than the U.S. So, anyway. I am looking forward to getting back to the U.S., to tell you the truth. I love my country, but I've lived most of my life in the U.S., and I miss it terribly. So, okay, let's go on. Now, this is interesting, and I am happy to see this, to tell you the truth, because I think that the military deserves it. U.S. military members receive biggest pay bump since 2010. Now, I'm not going to go through this and read it. I just wanted to make you aware of it. So that end of December, President Donald Trump, by the way of executive order, mandated a 2.4% pay hike for uniformed service members and a 1.9% raise for federal workers. So I think that it's good. I think that we need to take care of the military and certainly need to take care of our vets. So, all right. Let's see what else we have. Now, I'm not going to go and read this either, but I do want to draw your attention to the fact that Donald Trump wins back 2,500 jobs and $1 billion from Mexico, and he's giving it to the northern states. I think Michigan, if I'm not mistaken, is going to get that, and I think it's to do with vehicles, like car manufacturer. So I think that that's awesome, because you know that the northern states, like Michigan, Detroit, and a lot of the cities in Michigan are suffering because of the car industry pulling out. So anyway, not that I'm really know all that much about what happened up there, but I am slightly aware of it. So okay, so let's look at this, because this is a little bit interesting. Well, no, it's actually quite interesting to me anyway. Now, again, I don't know, but I'm just reading this to you and, and showing you this. it's interesting. I don't know what to believe about Las Vegas. The only thing I know for certain is that there were more than one shooter, and I don't believe anything the mainstream media reported about it. Nothing. Just about nothing. So, let's see. Vegas mass shooting. And according to Q, I believe that he alluded to the fact that more would be coming out about this. So, indeed, more is coming out. This was January 16th, so it's from today. Vegas mass shooting orchestrated by Obama, Valerie Jarrett, Rahm Emanuel, and Prince Al-Walid bin Talal. And it's with a question mark. Now, nothing would surprise me at all. I do believe that Prince Al-Walid bin Talal was involved. He was the prince that was arrested in Saudi Arabia, and he's now in prison. Anyway, so shots fired from 32nd floor at 10:08 p.m., and that is over there. This is the stage down here. This is the Luxor Hotel, and some people said, I don't know. I've heard so much stuff, I don't want to even muddy the waters. Stephen Paddock set up his guns from this angle and fired on crowd below. And the other thing is, he knocked out 2 windows, but they were from 2 separate rooms. Like, they were trying to tell us on the mainstream media that, no, it was like an end room. And no, they were 2 separate rooms. So what did he, I didn't hear about him paying for 2 separate rooms. Why would he? Like, it just doesn't, I don't know. None of it makes sense. Jason Aldean exposed as a Satanist, Larry Ellison of Oracle exposed as CIA, Marco Rubio exposed as gay stripper with links to cocaine and pedophile child trafficking, John McCain exposed as pedophile and child trafficker. The allegations first surfaced in late March when former Manhattan Borough President Perry Sutton told a New York cable channel that a former business partner who was raising money for Obama had approached him in 1988 to help Obama get into Harvard Law School. In the interim, Sutton says he first heard of Obama about 20 years ago from Khalid al-Mansour, a black Muslim and black nationalist who was a, quote, mentor to the founders of the Black Panther Party at the time the party was founded in the early 1960s. Sutton described al-Mansour as advisor to one of the world's richest men, Saudi Prince Al-Walid bin Talal. Now, the other thing is, it was Prince Al-Walid bin Talal that paid for Obama's Harvard education. And that's a fact. So, let's read more about this right here first, because this isn't really, it's sort of connected, but hang on. Oh, it's so slow. It's so slow. I could be 59 by the time this comes up. Okay, well then, okay. No, I don't know why that came up. Anyway, let's continue on. 20,000 innocent American lives appear to have been intentionally placed in harm's way on October 1st, 2017 at the Route 91 Harvest Country Music Festival in Las Vegas, Nevada. Question, would any of these unsuspecting victims attending this event had promoter advertisements? Would any of these unsuspecting victims, it should have been have attended this event, had promoters' advertisements read, brought to you by the deep state and individuals with ties to globalist, communist, Islamic anti-gun, anti-American sympathizers who want to see Americans murdered. In my article, Mandalay Bay Genocide, Occult Symbolism Revealed, we examined the ancient secret icons hidden in plain sight and how these expressions of the past are linked to the deadliest mass shooting in modern U.S. history. Throughout the following essay, we're going to scrutinize those corporations and individuals who coordinated the October 1st, 2017 event and the occult symbolism that permeates these organizations. To solve the whodunit mystery surrounding the October 1st, 2017 Las Vegas mass shooting, America's exceptional collection of human intelligence needn't look any further than those involved with the coordination of this event. Using the coordinators of said event as the hub of our investigation, we'll begin lacing together the spokes of those associated with the coordinators. During the process of the traditional murder investigation in which a suspect has used a gun in the commission of said crime, law enforcement match up a bullet with the gun that fired the bullet. Investigators then match up fingerprints with the finger that left the fingerprints. They match up details of the crime with a criminal who has had a distinct pattern or method of operation that indicates or suggests the work of a criminal or criminals in more than one crime. Following such investigatory practices, we begin with the profile of Route 91 Harvest, a U.S. country music festival that is held annually at Las Vegas in Paradise, Nevada. The festival's promoter is Live Nation Entertainment, whose headquarters are located in Beverly Hills, California. Live Nation's revenue in 2016 was U.S. $8.355 billion. Live Nation's leadership consists of Canadian CEO Michael Rapino and Chairman Greg Maffei. Michael Rapino was a major Democratic donor to Barack Obama and friend of Obama's White House advisor Valerie Jarrett. In addition to having extensive ties to communist groups, Jarrett is the person who said that the NRA needed to be shut down in order to take America's guns. This, too, is the same woman who in March 2017 moved into Barack Hussein Obama's 8,200 square foot, $5.3 million mansion. In a July 25, 2016 article by The Hill, Rapino is quoted as saying, "But I know they are trying to make it up to me. I assume Jeffrey Katz called Valerie Jarrett, who emailed me last week." In my book, Deception, the Ancient Mystery That Holds the Secret of Newgrange, page 248, I examine the connection between the News Corp's Rupert Murdoch, Saudi Prince Al-Walid bin Talal, the Rothschild family, and Jeffrey Katzenberg. Rupert Murdoch's 20th Century Fox signed with Jeffrey Katzenberg DreamWorks Animation in 2012. It's not surprising to see such a large volume of pro-Lucifer imagery throughout Hollywood. After all, this is the same Jeffrey Katzenberg who was business partners with media mogul David Geffen, who in 1971 was allegedly involved with the CIA's MK Ultra mind control slave operation in Laurel Canyon. Geffen was also alleged to have played a role in the sacrifice of Scotsman musician John Lennon, and in 1999 was associated with homosexual parties where teenage boys were sexually abused. Given the company he keeps and his blatant pro-Lucifer views, it's not surprising that we find many anti-Christian references throughout both Disney and DreamWorks children's films. Jeffrey Katzenberg and Steven Spielberg represent a short list of elite billionaires whose actions arrogantly proclaim a steadfast allegiance to the goals of the Synagogue of Satan to blaspheme Jesus Christ and eradicate Christianity. According to President Barack Hussein Obama, Spielberg and Katzenberg are central to achieving this goal. Believe it or not, entertainment is part of our American diplomacy. You helped shape the world culture, tolerance, diversity, and creativity. President Barack Hussein Obama, 2013 DreamWorks Animation Campus, killingireland.com, page 236. Katzenberg, who now controls the digital media group, Winderco, has called some of Hollywood's most voracious sexual predators friends. Chief among them is Katzenberg's friend of more than 30 years, Harvey Weinstein, who recently admitted on tape that he sexually assaulted many women. In response to the avalanche of victims coming forward to share their stories of sexual predation, Katzenberg released a statement that hypocritically excoriated Weinstein, stating, "You've done terrible things." Yes, he has. Important note, Jewish music mogul Irving Azoff, executive chairman of Live Nation Entertainment and the founder of Azoff Management Group, who has represented Seal Jewel, Christina Aguilera, etc., called Malibu's billionaire beach home where he lived in his $10 million mansion. Azoff's neighbor include David Geffen, Larry Ellison, and Jeffrey Katzenberg. Keep in mind, Katzenberg is the same person who in 1993 purchased Weinstein's Miramax production company on behalf of Disney during Katzenberg's time as chairman of Walt Disney Studio and CEO of DreamWorks Animation. Shortly after purchasing Miramax in 1993, convicted child molester Victor Salva was chosen to direct Disney's film Powder. One of Victor Salva's biggest supporters was Francis Ford Coppola, the uncle of actor Nicholas Cage, who constructed a 9-foot-tall occult Illuminati pyramid above ground burial tomb in New Orleans' St. Louis Cemetery. Nicholas Cage's tomb is near the famous voodoo priestess Marie Laveau. Francis Coppola is most famous for his film The Godfather, which romanticized, I only say because Q mentions Godfather all the time, Godfather 3, which romanticized the Italian mafia. For those who have read my previous expose, Mandalay Bay Genocide, Occult Symbolism Revealed, it will be remembered that the Italian mafia was founded by Giuseppe Mazzini, a 33-degree Grandmaster Freemason revolutionary terrorist leader, Sicilian gangster, and good friend of Albert Pike. Pike was a sovereign grand commander of the Supreme Council, 33rd degree of Freemasonry, British spy, KKK founder, and Grand Dragon, and Knights of the Golden Circle founder. Notable members of Pike's Knights of the Golden Circle include Jesse James and John Wilkes Booth, who assassinated President Lincoln. In 1871, Pike outlined plans for the 3 world wars that would bring about a new world order in the following letter. Okay, I'm not going to read that because I'm sure all of us have seen this like 1,000 times. I've probably seen it at least 1,050 times. Grand Commander of Freemasonry, Albert Pike was quite clear about his cult's objective on page 861 of his books Morals and Dogma, which reads, and I'm not going to read that either because we've seen this 1,000 times. Weinstein's Miramax was sold by Disney to Film Yard Holdings, which they knew belonged to the Islamic Sharia law government of Qatar. In 2016, Miramax became Bell and Media Group, which is wholly owned by Al Jazeera Media Network, an organization suspected of having ties to Zbigniew Brzezinski's creation Al-Qaeda and billionaire Nazi collaborator George Soros, who was recently called an agent of Satan by Hungary. For generations, communist apologists throughout Hollywood have been complicit in feeding the American people disinformation and conspiring against the U.S. with its enemies since William Randolph Hearst hired Sigmund Freud's nephew, Edward Bernays, a history that I expose in my book, FreudsMafia.com. To prove my point, here is a short quote from my book. Okay, I don't think we need to go into all that. I would like to get into the, he's going into a lot of the, a lot of the ties here, but I'm not seeing where he's actually tying Obama to this. But hang on. I'm not seeing it. Yeah. I don't know. To tell you the truth, there's a lot in this, and I think it's good, and it would be good for someone to read. I don't think that I need to go through and read the whole thing because it's huge. But this is something that you might want to check out. It's opdeepstate.com, and I don't know. I can't vouch for this website. It's one that I do look at and does have some interesting stuff on it. And there's obviously some really interesting connections here that they're making. But it's too long for this video. So, yeah. And they're going into the Illuminati card game, the graphic elements for that. And, we all know about predictive programming. So it wouldn't surprise me that there was something in there about this. But for now, let's move on, because I don't see anything directly relating, Obama, Valerie Jarrett, Rahm Emanuel, and Prince Al-Walid bin Talal. I think that he is pretty much implicated in many ways and from many other articles, but the others, I don't know. Now, new charges could be coming in Vegas massacre. Now, we kind of looked at that yesterday, and I don't think we need to look at it again, because I just don't believe what is coming out in mainstream media. I don't believe it. I don't think that, I mean, at least they're now saying that there was probably more than just Paddock involved, and that's pretty obvious. And I personally believe that he was dead before the shooting began. I think that he was a patsy, like Oswald, personally. And I really do personally think that he was a CIA asset. Now, whether I'm right, I don't know. And I'm just surmising here. Now, I'm surmising based on facts that I've seen, but again, it's just my opinion. Now, this is interesting too, but I don't know if we want to get into that. It's about an ex-CIA agent that was arrested, and they were allegedly helping China find informants, CIA informants, and then these informants were killed. But it's really long, and I think I'm going to click here because I think it's more in line with what we are looking at Q-related news. Russian doomsday weapon confirmed via leaked Department of Defense report. Interesting. Just days after an alleged false alarm missile scare sent Americans into panic, now comes a sudden confirmation via a leaked Department of Defense report that a long-rumored Russian doomsday weapon is indeed real. The Status 6, or as the CIA has dubbed it, the Canyon, is believed by the U.S. military to be nuclear-powered underwater drone capable of delivering a thermonuclear cobalt bomb up to 100 megatons to coastal cities worldwide. Scary. To put things in perspective, this unmanned autonomous vehicle could quite possibly obliterate much of the American East Coast, even after the complete destruction of conventional Russian military forces had already been achieved. Worse yet, in comparison to our own nuclear submarine fleet, the Canyon has a multitude of troubling advantages. First and foremost, its ability to stay permanently underwater and non-active for years at a time without the need to return to port. For example, it's not unreasonable that Russia could park one of these devices off an American seaboard and simply leave it there unmoving for years at a time, only set to activate upon certain criteria, such as the total destruction of Moscow. More importantly, the Status 6 is designed to be largely immune to conventional anti-missile technology, while our own submarines rely on ICBM technology, which can, in theory, be shot down by anti-ballistic missiles, and also often depend on satellite communications to direct them. The Canyon is a doomsday weapon with no such weakness. And this is all in Russian, so I'm not sure what they're saying, but I'm sure that this is a schematic of the weapon. Designed not to fire a conventional nuclear weapon, but rather to create a radioactive 500-meter tall tsunami wave, which could damage and then contaminate a wide area. It is important to understand that cobalt bomb caused radiation would make an area completely unlivable for decades, as it would cause such high levels of deadly gamma radiation that not even hazmat suits would be able to offer reasonable protection, meaning any areas affected by this weapon would instantly become nothing short of total dead zones for the foreseeable future. The first whispers of the status 6 came in late 2015 when a document making mention of the nuclear-armed drone sub could be seen in the hands of Russian general in a state-controlled television newscast. While appearing to be security oversight at first, that's not a complete sentence. I'm sorry. I'm an English major. I can't help it. As the document was made visible during a report denouncing American efforts toward anti-ICBM technology, the CIA later decided the leak had, in fact, been intentional. However, U.S. intelligence for a time still remained unclear as to whether this intentional reveal was in fact meant to be and that should be subtle warning, not settle warning, of real technology or merely the latest example of Russian disinformation. Now, though it would appear that at some point since we have in fact received confirmation that the Status 6 oceanic multipurpose system is a real threat, as the recently leaked 2018 Department of Defense Nuclear Posture Review has confirmed the existence of this cobalt bomb-armed autonomous underwater weapon of mass destruction. Perhaps the most perplexing part of this story, though, is that for some reason it would seem that our own government does not want us to know about this particular Russian threat, as mention of the Status 6 only appears in the leaked draft version of the report, with all references to the doomsday device removed in the final copy. Now, I found this particularly interesting, and I'll tell you why. I had a dream, and this was probably, it was probably several years ago now, because I remember calling and telling a friend about it because it was so real. And I saw some sort of, I saw something strike the water, and a massive tsunami rose up and destroyed the East Coast. And I remember waking up thinking, what the heck was I dreaming? And I'm not saying this is, people get all weird and think it's, some prophecy from God or whatever. I'm just saying I had that dream. And so this is what that reminded me of that dream that I'd had. Now, hopefully it was just a bad dream, and I pray that it never happens. But I have heard of others that have had similar dreams about the East Coast. Now, again, I'm not saying this is going to happen, and I pray to God it never does. But that's why it piqued my interest in particular. So anyway, I think that is kind of touches on the highlights. There's lots and lots of stuff happening in the news, but it is impossible to touch on everything. So I just wanted to kind of hit the high points, or the points that kind of stuck out to me, at least, and that I felt were related to things that Q was talking about. And I will keep an eye out for, well, not literally keep an eye out because that would be painful, but I will watch to see when Q has posted again. There's been no post today, but actually it is a new day now. It is now the 17th. So I will watch tomorrow for new posts, and I will hopefully be able to prepare an in-depth analysis of some of the older posts tomorrow as well. So thank you for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful evening, and I'm so thankful for you all. I have some really wonderful people who listen regularly. I will see you tomorrow. Bye.